great stories. I was actually sorry to see it end. We're looking forward to the sequel when you do further work.
Well, let's
open it up to questions. If you could identify yourself first, if you would be willing, and then ask the question.
Yeah, if you have a mic here, that would be just terrific.
I was wondering, I need to tell you my name, right?
If you're willing.
Yeah, I'm here from DCH department. I'm fascinated by your Death Galaxy experiments. And you told us that the bacteria can only find about 4 solutions to solve the problems, right?
Right.
And I wonder whether the naturally occurring resistant bacteria to SIPO also find the same 4 solutions?
Yeah, they do. That's right. Actually, so we knew that there was going to be a mutation in the gyrase A, because there are certainly bacteria that are resistant to Cipro, right? They're out there in the real world, and those have been sequenced. Okay, so we knew that we'd expect to see something there. Okay, so you're right. We saw that. What was different in this one here was the mutation in that pump, right? That was unexpected. We didn't expect that. So the answer is yes, sort of, right? We saw the gateway mutations happen. We saw some other ones happen, which we had not been seen before, as a matter of fact. So this is actually a rather novel solution that the bacteria came up with.
So in your evolution chambers, that Death Galaxy, do you see the bacteria in different chambers, like doing different things independently?
Yeah.
Or is it just 1 or 4 variants that they're slowly taking over the whole chamber?
Fantastic question. This is like an open loop experiment here. I let the system like free run, and I don't know what's going on inside that thing, right? And I cannot tell you the answer to that question. I'd love to know that, but I'm not God. It's going to be very hard for us to try to disentangle what's going on inside that device. You know, it's sort of somewhat of a black box to us. We just sort of see the output. It's like a computer that does a calculation, which we don't understand. So I don't know the events that occur and how it occurred. We're going to try to take that apart, and we're working with people that are going to bring in 96 strains of bacteria to try to take that apart. But it's a road ahead of us that's going to be kind of steep. It's a good question.
I'm a computer person. From what you're saying about evolution, my understanding is that a molecule has too many degrees of freedom. So it just takes a shape in this space. So you have a very high dimensional space.
Right. Enormous space, right.
You just have a point in high dimensional space.
Right,
I
exactly.
wonder whether we can use a computer to predict. Like your experiment. I thought your experiment can be sort of simulated using a computer and say what's the high probability for the drug to
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. Here, we ever heard of Freeman Dyson as a famous physicist? I think that our present-day computers are not the kind of computers that can answer your question. Because as you pointed out, it's way too high dimensional space. So what this system is doing is some sort of an analog search, right? It's an analog computer. It's not asking for pi to 100 places. It just asks for what can I do here to change fitness a little bit. So my gut feeling is if I try to run a computer and come up with these solutions, it'll never get there. It's too massive a calculation for a digital computer to try to solve. But that doesn't mean that a cell, which I view as a form of analog computer, has different algorithms at work that can find these solutions much more rapidly than the way we view solving problems. Does that make any sense? I think it's too high a dimensional space to expect a digital computer to come up with these solutions. That's my gut feeling.
Did anybody try this at least?
Well, I mean, like I said, we knew there was going to be, we knew it had to be a mutation in the gyrase gene. But I don't know, still know what that mutation does, by the way. I mean, I know there's a mutation there right where the cut site is the Cipro is, but don't ask me how that makes the gyrase A not get blocked by Cipro, right? I'd have to know the entire workings of gyrase A and figure out. You can imagine that kind of a problem I'd have to solve, right? So it's a great question, but I get the feeling this is something beyond the way we view problems in normal numerical kinds of landscapes. It's something else. It's different. If that makes any sense.
Another very nice talk again, Bob. I appreciate that. I just want to understand a little bit more about your design rules for the Death Galaxy. I am not exactly sure how you designed it to fit into the different materials and antibiotics that you're working on?
Yeah, well, I'm an experimentalist, right? And I just go by gut feeling. There's no design in the damn thing, right? Other than I knew I had to run a high concentration, and I knew I wanted to make as many different little worlds as I possibly could. So hexagonal place was the easy way to cover space that way. That's it. There's no design to the thing, right? And I could maybe optimize it a lot more by trying to run some sort of simulations and ask, how small should I make these little things? And how long? There's a lot of variables, right? So I just did it by the seat of my pants. That's all I did. I hate to say that. That's what I did. That's intuition.
Yeah, I have a question. Basically, I feel that there's some different philosophy in Western medicine and Chinese medicine. And it seems the Chinese medicine approach is not trying to apply external or put external material into your body. Because from your experiment, the conclusion it seems, the Western approach, you have antibiotics or chemotherapy, and that is trying to put additional material or any action into your body. And naturally, our intrinsic system has, over the thousands or billions of years, built up that resistance.
Correct.
Doesn't want to always want to expel external materials. So that's like we have the immune system. So in the Chinese, and so I'm not surprised the chemo doesn't work so well, and the antibiotics, sooner or later your body builds resistance. So in the Chinese way, that is, you use, for example, acupuncture. You just apply the needle. There's nothing going into your body.
Right.
But there is this high wisdom that the Chinese medicine knows that you shouldn't change your intrinsic system of the body because they seem to know there is this resistance there. And they know the evolution theory already. and so even with the herbal medicine, it's not trying to kill the bacteria. This also shows in the Western military approach, or the game, or the chess game. You're trying to kill every soldier.
Right.
But in the Chinese, we call Go, the game of
Right, I
Go.
know the
That
game
is
of Go.
to occupy the territory rather than kill the soldier. Okay. So in the Chinese system, then you try to strengthen your immune system.
I understand.
So you have the natural resistance to the bacteria, whatever. Can you please say whether Western medicine or Western doctors, like you, the researchers, have realized the different approach and appreciate the Chinese value of the medicine approach?
Tough question.
I agree with you. I agree with you that the system has already solutions built into it, and we're not listening, right? We're not listening. Now, I think, to develop that and to exploit that is not so trivial, though, right? But I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Shock and awe is not working, right? So I think we have to listen more carefully to what this system has done over the past 4 billion years. And our argument in that, I agree with that. But I think those are just words, though, right? Those are just words. You don't want to be like Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, pancreatic cancer, right? He actually was lucky. He had a pancreatic cancer. The only thing that really works right now is with cancer is early surgery. Cut it out as fast as you can. He was lucky. He had one that was a slow-growing one. If they could have gotten in and cut it out, then he'd probably be alive today. But he was a fanatical vegetarian, and he didn't want something violating the sanctity of his body, and he spent 6 months with his diets trying to do it. So look out, right? It didn't work. By the time he decided it wasn't working, it was too late. So I hear what you're saying, but I'm also warning you that it isn't necessarily the answer either. So it's some combination of the two, I think. There's some real value to Western medicine. I believe there's some real value to Chinese medicine. And we have to learn how to bring them together.
Is there a question over here?
Professor Austin, from Ray.
I need a mic because my hearing is thank you.
Professor Austin, I'm Ray. My question is quite is similar to our audience. Your deaf galaxy model is a protection experimental model, but after all, it's a kind of in vitro model. So we have not taken into consideration of the defense mechanism of the body. So how will you say try to incorporate such a model in the form in real text or such a way that you can take into consideration of the defense mechanism of the body? Say it may possibly clear out the mutated genes that occur in a scarce population.
I'm not quite sure what you're asking. Are you asking for what can I do clinically to apply what I've learned to? Is that what you're asking, or I don't know whether I caught that question right.
Yeah, in your in vitro model, as if I'm right, okay. You have not taken into consideration of the defense mechanism of the body.
I have not. Right. This is a very simple experiment. I'm a physicist. What were the spherical cows, right? The spherical cows in a vacuum. But that doesn't mean there's not some value added to that, right? I mean, but I don't deny this is a spherical cow kind of thing. And the immune system plays a clear and fundamental role in cancer, right? Because apparently in tumors, half the tumor mass is immune cells. I don't know if you knew that or not. Only the tumor seems to co-opt the immune system and converts it into his side. So they're no longer fighting the cancer, they're actually helping the cancer. So I don't have any immune system at all in this thing, right? I mean, I fully agree with you that I haven't solved cancer in any way, shape, or form. All I've told you is how you can get evolution happen. Is that sort of, but I will tell you what I would try to do is, what a tumor does, it forms this shell around itself to protect itself, right? And that, by definition, is like my deaf galaxy. So the idea is that we could open up this shell and make things could get in and we get rid of the gradients and things like that, which we know drive the evolution. Maybe I can slow down the evolution of the tumor into something which is more deadly. The idea now is to try to figure out ways to alter the rate at which evolution is occurring. And the immune system, I know, plays a critical role in this whole thing, which I've not begun to try to attack. It's just too hard right now. It's a spherical cow. I don't deny it's a spherical cow.
Thank you.
Does that help a little bit? I don't know what I answered.
Well, my sense is we could stay here for hours and discuss this, but I would like to actually take the facilitator's prerogative and ask the final question. It seemed to me, maybe I was staring at it too long as an optical illusion, but the wave dynamics on the 100-cell experiment was very different than on the other one.
Oh, right.
So I wonder if you could comment. It seemed like it started from the center,
sort of like,
flowed out like a wave, and then
yeah, they're completely different. So we haven't sequenced those guys that grew up as 100 things. So my feeling is that those guys have come up with a different solution. They had a lot longer time to evolve, right? And I think what you're seeing there is a completely different phenotype and probably a different solution in this high-dimensional space. So I think they're really different.
All right, cool. Well, let's thank our speaker one more time. Excellent. And I will invite the provost.